Just in, disgraced R&B singer RKelly has now been sentenced to 30 years. Last year, a federal jury found Kelly guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking charges. The trial and public outcry was fueled in part by the widely watched docuseries Surviving RKelly. The 55-year-old has been in jail since 2019, and he also still faces child pornography and obstruction of justice charges in Chicago. Joining me now on set, we have, we're outside of the New York Federal Courthouse. We do have our Court TV legal correspondent, Julia Janae. Apologies, Julia, I just wanted to make sure that you were with us here. Tell us the latest and what happened when the judge read this sentence.
No, Judge Ashley, no emotion from this defendant in learning that his sentence would be 30 years. And the breakdown of that is 360 months on that top count that included those racketeering charges, the ones that carried up to a life sentence for some of them. But then she also, on the counts 3 through 9, gave him 20 years, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 9 in particular, those counts. And then counts 2, 6, and 8, she gave him 10 years. So 30, 20, and 10 for various counts in this multi-count indictment, but ultimately those all run concurrently. So 30 years is what he is looking at being behind bars in this case.
All right, I know you just said that you saw no emotion from RKelly, and it's my understanding, but I just want to confirm this, that he in fact did not make any statement during his sentencing hearing.
That is correct. He was given that opportunity. The judge advised him of his rights, and his attorney spoke for him and said that she wants to make it clear on the record. This is attorney Jennifer Bonjean. She's new on his case, and she said that because he has these pending cases, 2 in Illinois, 1 in Minnesota, that he is not going to be making any statements. The court did ask Kelly if that was in fact his wish, and we heard that voice. It's a familiar voice to so many of us who know him from his music and just the things that he has said in public, saying, "Your Honor, that's my wish." So that's the extent of what we heard from RKelly. We do have sound with his attorney from before this sentence came down. Let's take a listen to Bonjean this morning heading into court.
Attorney Bonjean, what do you expect to come out of the sentencing today?
Well, hopefully we'll have a reasonable sentencing hearing where Mr. Kelly is treated fairly and not by way of mob justice.
And are you encouraged, being new to his case, and what's going to change about it now that you are a part of it?
Well, we are really looking forward to the appeal. That's what I can say. We believe that we have excellent arguments on appeal and that the Court of Appeals will ultimately determine that this case was overcharged and that there was no enterprise.
Are you expecting any impact that this will have on his other cases that are pending? Are you representing him in those two?
I am, and they're fairly unrelated. He's feeling fine. We are ready for this. It's obviously sentencing is never a pleasant day when you've been convicted, but he's strong and we are going to get through this.
Tell us, why are you asking for less than 10 in comparison to what the prosecution's asking, 25? What's the justification there?
Well, we believe that the offenses for which he's been convicted do not justify a sentence greater than 10 years. We believe there's significant mitigation, and we believe that's the appropriate sentence.
Will Mr. Kelly be speaking this morning?
I guess you'll wait and find out.
And we, of course, learned that he was not going to be speaking on the record. Part of that sentence is his supervised release. Once he is out, he would go on the federal sex offender registry. That's what the judge said at the end of that sentence handed down for this former singer.
All right, and Julia, tell us, how has the reaction there been? Because we know there were victim impact statements. You've given us some great details about what those were like. We also know some of RKelly's family. Any reaction that you've been able to gauge there at the courthouse?
Well, Judge Ashley, these accusers and victims who spoke today during the victim impact, they were raw. They spoke directly to RKelly in instances, making sure that he knew how they felt and really taking the time to share what they'd gone through and detailing not only that they knew that he had been a victim of abuse too, something that his defense argued, trying to get a lesser sentence in this case, but saying that that was no excuse, and that was echoed by the judge. But I do want to show you one woman, Faith, Actually, let me start with Jane Doe, number 9. She is someone who said that the abuse started with him grooming me, that he made me to believe he was the only one I could trust. He made me travel with him to be his sex slave. And not a day goes by that I don't think about what happened to me. Today, I'm 45 and a mother, diagnosed with PTSD, depression, and anxiety from being abused over and over. And then she spoke directly to Kelly, saying, Robert, you destroyed so many people's lives just because you were abused. It is not an excuse. I want to see you get help. You probably hear behind me, there's some commotion going on. And sometimes there have been clashes here when it comes to different members of Robert Kelly's camp, some who were supporters, some who claim to be members of his family. That could be what we are seeing behind us, but everyone, of course, in anticipation for what is to come. Judge Ashley, most of these victims say they want him to spend the rest of his life behind bars, but in particular, there was a father who spoke today of one of the victims, and that's Faith. I actually want to read first what she said. She said she wasn't going to speak. She was going to let her father speak for her, but when she heard these victims speak before her, she decided she did want to speak. And she said that, first of all, that she accepted her own mistakes in this. The times she said yes when she should have said no. But she also apologized to her parents and said that she forgot about the way that they raised her during this time, that she was chased, and that something that she wasn't ready to happen happened, and that she was abused. Now, over right now, we are actually seeing the attorney for Robert Kelly walking out, and she is about to give a statement. Ashley, that is what's happening behind me. But really heartbreaking testimony today from these victims. And the father of Faith, he told Robert Kelly that he actually doesn't want to see
Julia,
him spend
I'm
the
sorry
rest of
to
his life
interrupt you, but I
behind
think I need to interrupt you simply because we're going to take that live, this statement.
The Court of Appeals. We've always believed in those arguments, and we believe that this enterprise was overcharged, and that the Second Circuit Court of Appeals will see it that way.
Can you share what he said to you after the sentence was read?
He was just asking for some clarifications about some of the terms that were read to him. As you all know, Mr. Kelly has some literacy issues, so it's really important there's a great deal of things that have to be explained in a little more slowly. So,
But in terms of how do you feel about 30 years?
well, I mean, obviously he's devastated. 30 years in prison is like a life sentence for him. But at the same time, we knew the government was asking for 25 years. We were prepared for what the judge might impose. So it didn't come as a great big surprise. We were prepared for it, and we are now prepared to fight this appeal. For us, it's just the beginning of the fight, frankly. So we were prepared going in for today, and he's doing okay with it.
He had a strong argument in his own defense. Why did he not want to make a
statement in allocution? Well, that was on advice of counsel. That was on my advice.
Why?
Because he has pending cases. It's obvious. He's got pending cases, and he has a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, and I advised him to invoke that Fifth Amendment right. I promise you, he does want to make a statement. He will make statements eventually, but on the advice of counsel, he remains silent today.
What can you say to try to convince the public that he is not guilty?
How soon will you be convicted?
Okay, so the appeal will lay out that the enterprise that was charged, as you will see if you've read my post-trial motions, which you probably have not, our position is this was not a RICO or racketeering act violation. These were isolated events that happened many years ago, and the government simply tried to plead around the statute of limitations to bring it in a RICO charge, which was inappropriate. So, I mean, all I can tell you is there was no enterprise. There was no enterprise. It was one man with allegations by a number of women, which doesn't make it an enterprise. And that is why he's not guilty of racketeering.
You said he was remorseful. What did you mean by that? You said he didn't have to confess, but that he was remorseful.
I said he has regrets and he is sad, Nobody wants to hear what he heard today. He's a human being. He feels when other people are feeling, but that doesn't mean that he can accept responsibility in the way that the government would like him to and the way other people would like him to, because he disagrees. He is not, he disagrees with the characterizations that have been made about him. But that doesn't mean he's not a human being and can't feel something when other people are in pain.
Is his abuser here today? You said that his sister abused him as he was a kid. He has 4 people here today.
Yes, he has a number of friends here today. No, his sister is not here today. He's been estranged from her for quite some time. He has 2 brothers who are fully in support of him, who were also victims of sexual abuse in his household. So they are here in spirit, although not here personally. So no.
You spoke about
What do you say to
fiancé
people who say he's a predator?
Have you had the opportunity to speak to Joy?
Yes, I speak to Joy regularly, and Joy is just fine. She is sad, but she told him, and she sent me a text message telling him to pray and put it in God's hands, and she loves him, and they're going to get through this. That's what she had to say to him.
Is he a
today.
predator?
No, he's not. No, he's not a predader.
You're saying this was not an enterprise. You're saying that these members of the
Jennifer Bonjean, Bonjean.
Are you saying that this sexual abuse didn't happen?
No. We just went over some of the terms that the judge was reading to him. We didn't have a lot of time. But he was prepared for it. Okay. We thank you. Thank you very much. On behalf of RKelly supporters, we do support you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Waiting on the appeal.
You heard there the attorney for the defendant, who just now knows that 30 years is what this sentence is going to be, recounting a lot of what she said inside of the courtroom to the judge, that he was abused by his sister and their landlord when he was a child. She said that it may not excuse what he's done, but it helps us understand why he may have felt that these actions were okay in society. She also made a plea that he didn't understand and that a lot of these were consensual situations that should not have come into a court of law in the way that they did. But you also heard Bonjean saying that this is going to be something that they plan to appeal, and we expect that to be happening, especially now that the motion for a new trial before this court here has already been denied.
And Julia, I also couldn't help but notice how she described RKelly and said he's doing okay. He was really prepared for this today because we knew what the judge could sentence and then found out what the judge did sentence, and also made the statement that no, he's not a predator. So put that together with all of your observations, the feel of the court, the people that are there, everything you've watched inside that courthouse.
It makes sense when it comes to his reaction to the words of the judge today. I actually heard a reaction from some of his supporters when we learned that the judge said that the guidelines in this case actually say that this is a life in prison sentence that would be appropriate for all of the counts that he was found guilty of, which were many, 9 counts to be exact. So putting that into perspective with the shock of life in prison versus 30 years as what he is facing, perhaps he may even feel that this is not as bad as it could be. We don't know. 30 years is still a long time for Kelly. But it really does jive with what we have seen from him in court. He's been very calm, did not have any kind of outburst the duration of this trial, just some emotion that you saw from him when some of the accusers were on the stand. But emotions are definitely running high here outside of the courtroom. You can feel it. There are people who are upset with this verdict, upset with each other, and that's something we saw at times during the trial, but it seems to be particularly heightened right now.
All right, Julia Janae, always appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us live from New York.